See, this is power. This voice, this is power. In anybody else's hands, this is a microphone. In my hands, it's a pipe bomb.
From pillar to post and coast to coast, this is The Law.
Live audio wrestling.
We are live!
Your number one source for pro wrestling and mixed martial arts news, interviews, and opinion.
We live, we breathe, we sweat, we paid the price to be the best.
With Dan the Mouth Lovranski,
The cream of the crop.
Jason Agnew,
Don't make him angry, please.
and John Pollock.
Where's the producer?
Live audio wrestling on TSN Radio.
Now it's time for streaming stuff. It's the law.
I can't believe it.
Well, if this was our worst of show, I would say the worst storyline of the year was the Mayans predicting the world was going to end on December the 21st.
We're still alive.
Talk about anticlimactic and no follow-through. Alas, that's next week, and
There was no resolution.
Yeah, no resolution. So it should have been around final resolution.
That's right.
Those will be mentioned next week. However, tonight we're talking about the best that was in 2012. It's our annual, folks. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Law, live audio wrestling, broadcasting live on TSN 1050 Toronto, the Team 1410 in Vancouver, and our online home at liveaudiowrestling.com. My name is Jason Agnew, joined as always by Dan the Mouth Lovranski and John Pollock. But this week we get into our extended family as well, and welcome co-host of all our law podcasts, Wai Ting, back to the program. And Mouth, tonight it's best of the best.
You know, it was definitely one of the tougher years when it comes to pro wrestling in terms of the big two companies keeping us interested in what they had to offer. But nevertheless, there were some great moments this year, and we will celebrate those right here tonight. Best wrestler, best fighter, best match, best gimmick. We got them all lined up tonight. And our exclusive panel will run down all our thoughts on the year that was 2012. Then we're going to open up the phone lines and let you have your say and run down some of your favorites as well. And, of course, in amongst all that, we have our regular features, the news of the week, trending topics, Wrestling Observer Extra with Dave Meltzer, and your chance to win the new WWE 13 video game for PS3 during Title Bout Trivia, courtesy of THQ. The best of 2012. What excited you this year when it came to MMA and pro wrestling? Inquiring minds want to know.
That's right, so give us a call at 416-870-1050, 1-855-591-6876. Keep in mind, we're running down our picks first, and then we'll get into your phone calls. You can tweet them out, though, at Law Radio, and there is a thread on the Law Pro Board, so check it out, lawradio.proboards.com. Post all your best ofs up there, and then we'll go through feedback throughout the program as well. Here's what we're going to do, though. Taking a quick break, coming back on the other side with a whole bunch of our best of picks from the four of us. It's the annual, the best of 2012 in the world of MMA and pro wrestling, right here on The Law on TSN 1050 Toronto and the Team 1410.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest.
That's what we're talking about, being simply the best, better than all the rest. It's our best of special tonight right here on Live Audio Wrestling. Welcome back to it on TSN 1050, the Team 1410. In the studio with me tonight, of course, Dan the Mouth Lovranski's here. John Pollock in a different seat tonight, sitting beside us, between us on our very Star Trek-like studio here.
Yeah.
It's a law sandwich.
So did you just tell Wai that he had to sit on the other side of the room?
No,
He said, Wai, do you want to be the call screener?
Oh,
he said,
did he?
sure. He put a gun to my head.
He did. It was evil.
Basically.
Yeah.
What up, Ting Ting? How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Amazing. Glad to have you
holidays.
here. Happy holidays. That's right. So we actually get to do this year on time. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Normally this is pushed well into January, but this week, I guess, best and worst the last week won't count. Because we have about 7 days left in the.
I hope
month,
UFC
right?
is terrible next Saturday for
Yeah.
our own credibility.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Okay, so let's get into it. We do it every year. We're going to run it on down, and we're going to kick things off doing our Best Wrestler category. So, Mouth, why don't you go first? Best Wrestler 2012.
All right, well, I picked someone somewhat out of the box, but I picked Michael Elgin from Ring of Honor. Because he had amazing, 5-star matches. He had at least 3 matches that people could pick as Match of the Year candidates. I saw some of his indie stuff this year as well. He was always really great. I know he's not a big promo guy in that. He usually needs like a manager, a mouthpiece. But I guess for me, when Best Wrestler, I think about the guy that I'm most excited to watch throughout the year. And this was the one guy that whenever I knew he was having a big match or he was on the television, I was interested in seeing this guy. And plus, if you see Ring of Honor on the Buffalo affiliate, he does the best ad for the Scrapyard.
And that really
is the deciding factor when you're weighing candidates.
I just thought he's so awesome in the ring, and I think he's only going to get better. But he really, for me, he was the one guy I looked forward to seeing no matter what.
Come so far from the Oshawa Viking Hall where we watched
that's right.
once upon a time.
Well, I think I just saw him at the fight event as well, right?
That is true.
Yeah, he was main eventing there. So, okay, John, who did the best infomercial for the Scrapyard for you?
Well, I went with my pick from last year, actually, repeating, and that would be Hiroshi Tanahashi from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He had an awesome match this past June with Kazuchika Okada, as well as Minoru Suzuki back in October, which was a phenomenal match. This guy was just the focal point of New Japan throughout the year, and New Japan was just such a fun promotion to watch this year, and he was just your main event level worker that just was able to pull great matches out of so many different guys. So I just thought Tanahashi was just a phenomenal
Good choice.
Wai Ting.
My viewing was mainly restricted to the big two, and so I'm going to have to go with CM Punk, who I didn't think had as good of a year as he did last year.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of his current incarnation of his heel character, yet I still have to say he is still the most consistent on the mic and in the ring. And he's been champion. Look at his title reign.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I have to say he is my wrestler of the year.
And I get a feeling that he's going to pop up a little bit later in everybody's list. However, I went a different direction this year. You know, for pure work rate, this guy is just the best bumper in the business right now.
Yeah.
And he just goes out, and I think he kills himself a little bit too much, but you're always in for a good match when he's in there, and that's Dolph Ziggler. He's a guy that I've really wanted to see get a mega push, and I'm hoping 2013 is his year.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like they're really pushing him forward right now. Hopefully that continues, but I've been saying that for over a year now. I really like this guy.
They did that same thing on the TV again this week, where he goes out to cash it in and still doesn't get to cash it in. Like they got.
Oh no, but that was good. I like John Cena coming out and doing that.
I don't know.
I didn't mind that this week, but I did jump up when he came out this week. So hopefully they do a good follow through with the Money in the Bank, and that'll be the key to Dolph really taking center stage. From there we go to a category that is definitely less plentiful, and that is Best Female Wrestler. Mouth.
Yeah, it was really hard this year.
Yeah.
There's no one that really jumps out at me overall. I went sentimental, and I do like the refreshing of the package, adding Mr. Big Brother dude in there, so I went with Tara. I mean, I've always had a soft spot for her, but it was tough this year. There was no one really who jumped out. I just like the fact that I think she's getting a bit of a refresh with Big Brother dude there.
Yeah, I think so as well, actually. John, so Best Female Wrestler for the year?
Yeah, and this, to be honest, was the hardest category.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
By my own admission, I don't watch enough Shimmer. I know Jessica Havoc had a fantastic year, but I just don't watch enough Shimmer to adequately comment on that. So I went with Tara, but I thought this was such a year where it was just... you look at the WWE, nobody at all stood out here, and TNA it was tough as well. Ring of Honor doesn't as much focus on it, neither does Dragon Gate USA, and the result was Tara, who I do enjoy the gimmick with Jessie, and a very good worker.
I think last year both you and I picked Madison Rayne just simply because of her mic skills, but this year she's completely disappeared. Yes. TNA and WWE just made both women's divisions completely disappear this year.
Nothing.
Wai Ting.
I'm going to have to take some liberties with this category and say Ronda Rousey is my female pro wrestler of the year.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, like you guys said, the women's wrestling, at least in TNA and WWE, they're both in very bad states right now. In WWE, they're really just... I just feel like they're fitting a quota every episode just to have a women's segment in there.
Yes.
And even in TNA, where you used to be able to look to that promotion for a good women's match every episode, you don't get that anymore.
No, definitely not. And, on my sheet right here, I have Tara written and then Ronda Rousey in brackets.
Right,
because that's who I wanted to pick. I mean, she's been, as far as mic work goes, even though I think she's only had one fight this year. Is it one or two? Two fights this year. And she's dominated them both. And then, the whole Cyborg thing has been absolutely fantastic all year long. But, yeah, one of those two for me. If I'm allowed to pick Ronda, I'd pick her. If not, I like the Tara refresh as well. Best tag team. We move on to I'm going to bet on a clean sweep in this category. Mouth.
Honorable mention to the Rhodes Scholars because I love Cody Rhodes and Damian Sando together, but man, I'm going with Kaz and Daniels.
Kaz and Daniels?
Absolutely. I mean, they've just been so good this year. They were burdened with a lot of bad stuff with the Claire Lynch pregnancy angle, but Daniels always came out, did great promos, introduced the Appletini to wrestling. I mean, I think they've been awesome, and their matches are always good, too.
Always solid.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, no disagreement from me. A huge year for Kazarian, who was the real surprise here. And Christopher Daniels, I mean, to me, his most breakthrough year for a guy that has always been such a well-respected worker, but just went to another level this year. The two complement each other so well, and they are a highlight every single week on Impact.
No doubt. Wai?
I think we need to, commend the WWE for at least refreshing to an extent
tag division.
Their tag division with that tournament there. Now you got Sin Cara and Rey, you got the Rhodes Scholars, you got Team Hell No, all of which I think are quite successful. But absolutely, Kaz and Daniels just consistently entertaining and original.
Yeah.
I would have bet on that one, and I was right, because that, of course, is mine as well. Daniels and Kazarian, no doubt, always entertaining. Okay, from there, we've already mentioned being really good on the microphone, and that is our next category, Best on the Mic, Dan Lovranski.
I mean, it's a toss-up between both of these guys. They're both involved side by side. I have both their names written down here. I'm not sure which one to pick over the other. I guess I'll go with Paul Heyman, but I mean, Paul Heyman and CM Punk to me have been the best ones. They work so well together, and I think for me, being a bit of an old school guy, it was great to see Paul Heyman out there once again and being able to use his verbal skills, because when Heyman gets on the mic, there's really no one like him.
John?
I went with with CM Punk. I thought he was just a phenomenal promo this year. They got him into his proper skin, so to speak, as a heel, where he just goes out, and it's, even this past week on SmackDown, just an excellent promo, capsulating the entire year, carrying this company. I think CM Punk has been fantastic. The guy that comes out, and he's got so much love from people because of his character, and yet can play this heel where people just detest him no matter what. I think he's been phenomenal.
He has been fantastic. Wai?
CM Punk as well.
CM Punk as well from Wai. I have CM Punk as well for almost a clean sweep there. And also in brackets, I got Chael Sonnen written here too, simply because he's constantly entertaining, and not only in the way that we're definitely going to see him in The Ultimate Fighter, where he's the instigator and just poking away at someone trying to get really under their skin, which is what he did with Anderson Silva early in the year. But along with that, I think Chael's a very skilled broadcaster. Yeah. Anything that he does, he's an excellent analyst. He interacts well with your professional broadcasters. This guy has a future well beyond fighting. I think that his broadcasting career will surpass his fighting career.
Well, and you know what really made it stand out, Jay, was that last one where they had him and Ben Henderson side by side, and it was just so much obvious how better Chael was compared to someone like Ben Henderson and how relaxed he was in front of the camera. I agree with you. I think once his fighting career is done, he has an awesome career set up for as an analyst.
I could see his fighting career be done after John Jones, actually.
April 20th.
I could definitely see that happening. From there, we're going to talk about announcers, actually, and who is best in that role. Best announcer. This is a combo category for MMA and wrestling.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I picked an MMA announcer. I mean, in professional wrestling right now, I mean, I liked JBL coming back and refreshing things up a little bit, but I'm almost starting to get tired of him already. So I went with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Just because he does what he's supposed to do so well. He gives you all the insight. He knows the guys. He knows the holds. Like, the amount of research he must do is phenomenal. And I really think, you've got Goldberg, who's kind of your rah, sis, boom, bah kind of guy. And then you've got Joe, who's just kind of, here's the details. Here's what these guys do, and here's how they do it. I think he's awesome.
I think Rogan's been doing a little bit more rah this year, but nonetheless, he's still excellent. John?
I went with Nigel McGuinness because I feel the role of being a color guy in pro wrestling has never been a tougher task right now, and I really was amazed at just the improvements this guy has made over the past year and how sorely missed he is on Ring of Honor now that we've got Caleb Seltzer replacing him with Kevin Kelly. I just think Nigel added so much to so many matches this year that elevated those matches, had zero ego going into this. None of it was about getting himself over. It was all about the matches and playing into the psychology. And I just think it's a really tough role to be a great color guy in this day and age. So that was my pick.
Way over to you.
Joe Rogan for me as well, for the same reasons as Mouth mentioned, as just for being a guy that is able to do his job properly. And at least in TNA and WWE, it's hard to find somebody like that.
I went with Rogan as well for all those same factors. Along with that, I think Rogan would really be a good announcer for a new fan in regards to how these moves are put on, how the holds, and all the groundwork, the jiu-jitsu stuff. He really has a good take on it and explains it very well. And I like the way that he's like, okay, now he's got to push the leg over, and now he's got to go for this. And you can watch this happening, and Rogan has a great call on these things.
He's one of those guys that when the people that sit there in the audience and yell boring, well, for the guy watching at home, he's explaining all that to you, so it's not actually boring, and you really know what's going on.
Sometimes it's boring.
Okay.
Sometimes. It depends. And we'll get there next week, I think.
Exactly. Yeah,
when we talk about, I won't even say what my match is, but I think you know. Anyhow, let's move along to, by the way, it's live audio wrestling is what you're listening to right here on TSN 50, the Team 1410. This is our best of 2012 special, running down categories in professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. Dan Lovranski, John Pollock, Wai Ting, and myself, Jason Agnew, running them all down for you. And we're getting into now best non-wrestling performer. So this is someone who
could be a sweep, too, I could see.
I could definitely see this being a sweep. This person doesn't wrestle. They might get into the ring occasionally if they're forced to, but generally doesn't wrestle. Mouth?
Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman, yep,
yeah,
no doubt.
He's awesome. I love him.
John?
I went with Joseph Park. I thought this guy was a phenomenal breakout character this year. I think this completely gave new life to this performer. We got Abyss pretty much out of the picture at this point. Eventually it comes back, but he has been so good at so many little things. I love these OVW vignettes. I love everything this guy has been put into, and he is, to me, is the prototype of a non-wrestling performer. He's actually playing a non-wrestler. Fantastic when he's put into matches.
He's had a match this year.
Yeah, Jay clarified, stating he has been forced into matches. The guy's barely been a worker this year, and I give this all to his stuff out of the ring this year.
All right.
Well, I went with Paul Heyman as well. I just think the addition of him to the Brock Lesnar angle was brilliant, and to keep him on with CM Punk, just such a good pairing. I think we're going to look back at this and say, like, man, we really have two of the best people of the past decade on the mic, on the same team, on every week of wrestling. And
he just knows what to do when he's out there. Like, even if he's not talking, all if he just stands, exactly, his facials, and he just stands there with the belt behind Punk. Like, it's amazing. It's so simple, yet it's so effective.
I completely agree with you 100%. My pick as well, Paul Heyman. From there, we move on to the category of most improved. So, most improved professional wrestler.
Okay.
So we're looking for. Mouth?
Well, I definitely went to New Japan for this one. Kazuchika Okada, just because he was in TNA and they pushed him as Samoa Joe's silly sidekick there as Okada with the Kato-style Bruce Lee silliness. And then he goes to New Japan in like January of 2012. They give him the huge push. They put the belt on him. He gets the title for like 4 months. He has a big feud with Tanahashi. I just thought Okada, major improvements from being nowhere in TNA to being a top star in New Japan. I thought it was amazing.
John? That's my pick as well. He had such a breakout year. Everyone was negative on him winning the IWGP title, and he totally rose to the occasion. Had awesome matches with Naito, with Tanahashi this year, with Carl Anderson, winning the G1 Climax, and doing the Money in the Bank gimmick properly to where it built up to this huge announcement of him challenging Tanahashi for the Tokyo Dome show coming up January 4th. Giant pop when this announcement was made. I mean, he's just a bona fide star now in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and just amazing how far this guy's come in 12 months.
Wai Ting.
I want to say Austin Aries because if you compare his position a year ago in the company to where he is today, I mean, last year he was the X Division guy, but then all of a sudden in the middle there, basically taking over James Storms' role as the top babyface in the company, and at that time proven to be very worthy of the title and worthy of being a main eventer at this point. So he's my pick.
I want to give an honorable mention to Bully Ray because breaking out of a tag team and never being seen as a guy who can main event a card, I think he's reached that level now. He's always excellent on the microphone. The whole Twitter machine thing is always great. But most improved, we've mentioned them as the tag team sweep, but Kazarian is someone I did not care about at all previous to this year, and think that his pairing with Christopher Daniels have given this guy an incredible new life. He's great on the microphone. It's a side of him that I've never seen before. I mean, he's always been good in the ring before, but just his personality, to me, he is my most improved. Let's do one more category before we got to get on out of here, so we'll do this one quickly. This is a weird category for us this year. I mean, best comeback. Someone had a heart attack on camera this year. Do we have to give it to
I
Jerry
didn't consider
Lawler?
that a comeback.
Okay.
This was the problem I had when they gave him the prize in the Grammys on Monday. You can't compare a man's real-life heart attacks to fictitious.
I know.
Sure you
can.
Right, yeah. That's ridiculous.
Well, okay. So, Mouth, did you choose Lawler? Or
no, I picked with this, but I picked one name, but only the comeback. Everything after the comeback.
Yeah, okay.
Sucked.
So you picked Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because the comeback was amazing. You and I talked about it a bit on last week's show about how he just came out, and after that, after Mania there, and he made that appearance. It was a wicked, beautiful, awesome comeback, but nothing after that initial appearance. It didn't work out the way it should have, but the comeback itself, fantastic.
Yeah, okay. I agree with Mouth. John?
I went with Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. We saw his arm get snapped at UFC 140 last December. Some people thought he would never even return. He not only comes back at UFC 153 in Brazil, but what an awesome story. You have Dave Herman saying, this guy cannot submit me, and Nogueira is able to submit him. He looked terrible at the weigh-ins, and here he's like the Terry Funk of mixed martial arts, where he just gets up for a fight and defeated Dave Herman. I thought it was beyond belief here watching this guy in Brazil, no less. He just needs to fight in Brazil, and he'll be fine.
That's it, yeah, and I could
Brendan
definitely see
Schaub,
them doing
Dave Herman, he's great.
Quickly, Wai, throw out your pick.
My pick is Skip Sheffield / Ryback, who, when we last saw, was really just another cog in the wheel of the Nexus, and soon to be a failed member at that. But he's actually made a difference to business this year.
I never thought about that. That's
Good
a
pick.
great pick.
Yep.
And I'm picking Brock Lesnar because the comeback was great, and I have Lawler on here too. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Take a quick break, back with more of our best of 2012. That's what we're doing tonight on The Law, live audio wrestling, TSN 1050 Toronto, the Team 1410 Vancouver.
What's going on? This is Nate Milton, better known as the Godfather. TNA. I'm probably on hold right now waiting to chat. And if you like my phone calls on The Law, then you'll love Reviewing Impact. Every Friday at liveaudiowrestling.com, it's John Pollock, Wai Ting, and myself chatting Impact Wrestling. The good, the bad, and the influence of Bruce Pritchard. So tune in every Friday morning at liveaudiowrestling.com, iTunes, or get the free Stitcher app. It's a guaranteed 6 out of 10.
If you want interviews with wrestling's hottest stars, behind-the-scenes news, and the most complete wrestling package on the World Wide Web, then you want The Law. No-holds-barred wrestling radio, coast to coast, with Dan the Most Lovranski and Jason Agnew. Daily updates from The Law's own John Pollock. Plus, uncut, unedited interviews with wrestling's hottest stars and greatest legends. LiveAudioWrestling.com. Log on today.
I am the gold standard, and I set the bar so high, I don't think anybody's going to be able to reach it. Anybody else, 2 weeks post-emergency knee surgery after having their knee torn apart by a Neanderthal, wouldn't be here. They'd be at home, icing their boo-boo, popping their pain pills, sucking their thumb. I have been carrying this company on my back. I am the man that you tune in to see every Monday and Tuesday. I am the man that you people paid to see here tonight. Look in my eyes, what do you see?
Welcome back to it. That is CM Punk doing what he does best, and that is on the mic. He's been great all year long, and that's what we're talking about tonight. Other people that have been great all year long. It's the Law's Best of 2012 edition. We do it every year at this time. Dan Lovranski, John Pollock, Wai Ting, myself, Jason Agnew, running down the categories for you. So let's get right back into it, and we're going to get things. We're going to get back into it with best gimmick of the year. This is always an interesting one.
Yeah.
Mouth?
I went with Damien Sandow. I just love it. The smart, smarmy heel. I think he does a great job at it. I always look forward to him as soon as he walks out with that microphone. And I love his wrestling style. Kind of a mixture of the Poffo brothers. He kind of wrestles like Randy Savage and Lanny Poffo mixed together. And yep, it's kind of a classic wrestling one too, right? The guy that comes out, he's arrogant. The fans are losers. They don't know as much as me, and I think he does a great job at it.
When he was doing that whole apprentice thing, I was waiting for Lanny Poffo to be in the audience at some point, especially if they are going to do Macho Man at WrestleMania this year for an induction.
Right.
We don't know that as of yet.
No.
John?
I went with Bully Ray. Even the drastic change to a babyface, I think that this guy just so understands this character that it does make sense when it comes to promos, when it comes to trying to make guys and get his programs over, even with ones he's involved with right now. I just always look forward to this guy, and I just think he really understands what this character is and what this character, what the kind of limits of it are. And I think very few guys understand their character to the degree this guy does.
Wait.
My choice for best gimmick is Joseph Park. I decided to keep him for this category instead because on the surface, it doesn't sound like that great of an idea, to be honest. I mean, one that's been done before with, like Hogan, Mr. America, it could have been terrible, but the performance that this guy puts out, it is just incredible. Everything down to the details of pretending to not know how to take a chopper, pretending not to know how to walk into a ring properly. This guy is just incredible at it.
Yeah, he's been really good. And it's shocking. I mean, here's a performer who's been behind a mask for all these years, and his facials are just brilliant. There was so much more to this guy that no one ever discovered because he was too busy falling on thumbtacks all these years. So it's good to see him finally out of that. My gimmick that I loved, rarely do I get caught up in things for wrestling where I start doing them myself, but Pollock and I at times may have run down the street and done this, was the yes, yes, yes Daniel Bryan gimmick that, he probably took from Diego Sanchez, but nonetheless, I just like that gimmick. Granted, it was ruined very quickly when it was given over to AJ, and then he changed to no, but just the yes thing was just, it was so easy for the crowd to get into. I just thought it was brilliant. It was great, and that's my best gimmick of the year.
He just needs a cross now to come out to the ring.
Oh, yes.
The best entrance of the year, Diego Sanchez.
Match of the year. Here it is. This is a big one for us. Mouth, match of the year.
I went with one of the matches with the guy that was my wrestler of the year, so I went with Michael Elgin versus Davey Richards from Showdown in the Sun, which was March the 31st in Florida, WrestleMania weekend. Just an incredible match. I watched it again today. Crowd was ballistic. Great power-based moves by both guys. Very intense match. And they played off the whole thing. They call Michael Elgin as kind of unstoppable, and that's what the way the whole match was kind of played out. I just thought it was a great match and really captivated me the whole time.
John?
There were some awesome matches this year that I watched in New Japan, but I was at this show live, and that would have been on April 1st, the day after Mouth's match of the year, and that was Triple H and The Undertaker, the Hell in a Cell match. I never thought I would attend a match that would have the heat, the level of Hogan and Rock from the Skydome, but this match, being there live, it was incredible. Like, there was a point where I think everybody was on their feet, completely believing that there was a chance The Undertaker could lose, and the heat in this match, it was so well worked. I didn't even get to hear this with Jim Ross doing the commentary, but I assume that it would have just added that much more to it. So just for the heat alone, and I thought a very well put together match.
Match of the year, Way?
For me, it was a toss-up between what John mentioned as well as Brock versus Cena, which I thought was also a great match. They brought up blood for that match, and just a whole level of realism that I don't think any of us expected. But I do have to go with John's pick of Hell in a Cell on a personal level because I was there live along with John as well, and just to see that structure lower, while they're playing Metallica, that is a sight to be seen as well. Just thinking of like that Michael spot after he super kicks him and then Taker kicking out from that. I mean, you're talking to a pretty jaded wrestling fan, and to get me thinking that there's a chance that Taker could lose is quite impressive. So really, really great match.
I went with the other match that you mentioned, Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. Despite the ending is not the way I wanted it to go, the breaking out blood, the completely different style that these two guys worked together was very refreshing, and I really enjoyed it. And the fact that Cena took those elbows to the forehead was ridiculous. Probably shouldn't have done that, but it was definitely exciting to watch. Feud of the year, Dan Lovranski.
I went to MMA for this because I have to say, really, when it came to pro wrestling, there were not many feuds this year that really got me motivated. So I go with. Well, I could say Chael Sonnen versus everybody, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say John Jones versus Rashad Evans is where I'm going. Yeah, just because.
Wow.
Well, just because the former teammates that didn't like each other.
Yep.
It was kind of a very strange dynamic that I found very captivating. So that's where I went, because really in pro wrestling I had a tough time coming up with a feud that really captivated me all year.
Well, maybe we'll find some. John.
I went with Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen. I thought that when Chael Sonnen cut his promo it was October of last year, then the follow-up, just building up to that rematch, it did huge business. Sonnen got on like every mainstream sports outlet promoting this fight, and it had your pro wrestling ending where Sonnen lost completely clean, and then basically they did the respect angle, and Anderson Silva invited him over for a barbecue. It was like they buried the hatchet at the end of the feud, and it was just phenomenal. And Chael Sonnen did so much for Anderson Silva's career. I mean, this was a guy who was so discarded after the Tallest Ladies fight and Damian Maia, and Sonnen really resurrected this guy in terms of being a draw.
No doubt. Wai.
I'm going to have to go with Chael and Anderson as well. But, it's not really fair because they had all that build-up prior from that first match. But, despite all that, probably the one event I looked most forward to this year, so I have to say that.
I am going with a match that has not, or a feud that has not had its culmination yet. Is that of Ronda Rousey and Cyborg? I love these two going back and forth. I love Rousey taking digs at Cyborg. I can't wait to see this fight. I think Rousey has a ton of charisma, and I'm definitely looking forward to this happening in the UFC, hopefully in 2013. Best angle, Mouth.
It's really basic. It's really simple. It's done before, but I'm just glad to see it done again and done properly. Honestly, I just went Ryback and the winning streak. Just taking on all the jobbers, the indestructible monster. I like the idea that people can actually still buy into it if it's done properly. I just thought the way that they've handled him and the way that they've built him up has been awesome.
Wow, I cannot get into that at all. I do not. I still don't like Ryback.
It's not whether I like him, Jay. It's that people are into him.
Right,
they are. They've done I think they've done a great job with a classic, simple, basic angle.
John.
I went with Austin Aries forfeiting the X Division title and then going to face Bobby Roode at Destination X at a time when TNA had some momentum behind them and shocking everybody by winning the title. I thought it put a lot of emphasis on the X Division title for future years as something that can lead to a guy becoming a main eventer. And really that night, you made Austin Aries. He was the talk of wrestling for a solid couple of weeks coming off of that pay-per-view, and I think that was TNA at its highest point, I think, in years, was that kind of 3-month period where they were just, it seemed that they were firing on all cylinders, and Austin Aries was a key beneficiary of that time period.
Wai, best angle of the year.
My choice was also a TNA product, and that was the Bound for Glory series, which I thought was well improved over last year. Last year, it was just a real mess. They didn't really seem to know where they were going, but this year, everything was lined up very good. Gave weight to every single match that led up to the Final Four, so I have to give it to that.
I went with CM Punk and the fact that he held the title for an entire year. When was the last time we saw that happen? An entire year, and he quietly held it, and I didn't even realize that he had held it that long until they started doing the numbers, and all of a sudden it became the gimmick. And I love it. And it's still continuing on now, and I think it's absolutely great. And it's going to make him losing that title to Rock at Royal Rumble all the bigger, simply because of the way they're promoting it now. Best pay-per-view from the world of professional wrestling, Mouth.
Okay, and I'm somewhat biased because I was actually at this pay-per-view live, and as John and Wai mentioned with their stuff at WrestleMania, it's always more intense when you're there live, but I went with Glory by Honor, which was here in Mississauga for Ring of Honor. You had Steen against Michael Elgin. You had Jacobs and Carino against the Briscoes. I mean, Mondo and Mike Bennett had a great match. Lethal and Davey Richards. Like, it was just a solid match. The crowd was hot for everything, and even they drew like about 1,000 people for that show. So for Ring of Honor to do that pay-per-view regular show, that's pretty impressive. So that's mine. Glory by Honor.
John, over to you.
I went with WWE Extreme Rules from Chicago. The crowd was awesome. We got that phenomenal match with John Cena and Brock Lesnar. You also had Punk and Jericho in a Chicago street fight. Sheamus and Daniel Bryan with the match that everyone had wanted at WrestleMania. You got it a month later, which was a fantastic match. And just, once again, the crowd, much like TLC we saw a few weeks back, just that can really carry a show when you have such a hot crowd. And that was a huge factor here on this card as well.
Way.
Of the shows I watched.
Yes.
I am going to go with WrestleMania 28, the one that I did attend live as well. Just everything from the beginning. What really stood out to me is something you hit on earlier was just that yes chant. And to see a full arena of people from around the world start that chant, it was something to behold. Plus, you got that Undertaker Triple H match. And then Cena versus Rock, so that was my pick.
I'm going to go with the one that we just watched last week, and that is WWE TLC, because I actually sat here and went, hey, you know what? I'm interested in this pay-per-view. I got out of my chair 3 or 4 times to walk up to the TV and made sure I was into it, and that has been so rare recently that I've been so interested, so that did it for me. And you built a lot of new stars.
It was really good. It was a very good show.
Let's do this and then take a break, so let's do one more here. The best pay-per-view for MMA, Mouth.
I'm going to go with one that was very recent as well, UFC 154 with GSP versus Condit. I mean, that fight was great. It was not your typical GSP kind of fight. You had the Hendricks and Campman fight there with the big knockout by Hendricks. I really just thought it was a great show from top to bottom.
Yeah, it was excellent, and being there was absolutely incredible as well. John?
I went with the UFC 146. We got so many great stories on this card. Glover Teixeira making his debut, dominating Kyle Kingsbury. We had Dan Hardy, whose back was against the wall, finally getting a big win here over Dwayne Ludwig. It was Jason Miller's last fight. Jamie Varner made his huge comeback, beating Edson Barboza. And then the main card was the all-heavyweight main card, where we got some phenomenal finishes. Junior Dos Santos looking very dominant, and Cain Velasquez murdering Antonio Silva. It was just a great card that was very, very enjoyable.
Way over to you.
My pick was UFC 146, Silva versus Sonnen, and largely because of the main event. But, I mean, you also had Tito Ortiz's last fight on that show.
148.
No, that's not 140. 146 is the heavyweights.
148, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly what you just said. There you go.
Wait a minute, so you...
No, you went with
148.
Sonnen and Silva,
What did you
right?
say?
146 is the heavyweights.
Oh, oops, sorry. Yeah, 148 is
148, okay.
All right. There's a lot of them.
I went with UFC 146 as well. I like the fact that it's one of the first that UFC marketed with a gimmick. It was the heavyweights, and it could have gone so terribly.
It would have been, it could have sucked,
Could have just been guys holding on to each other, pushing each other up against the cage, but it was a great card, fully entertaining, and an amazing undercard as well, and all the heavyweights delivered. Just amazing. Okay, we're going to come back and do Best Promotion, Television Show, Book, DVD, and all that stuff still to come right here on The Law. It's our Best Of show, the best of 2012 on The Law, TSN 1050 Toronto, the Team 1410 Vancouver. Back with more after this.
You the best, best I ever had, best I ever had, best I ever had, best I ever had.
And I just want 1 second to publicly acknowledge that The Rock was the better man at WrestleMania, and I would really like to congratulate him on his victory.
That was the best moment of the year, in my opinion, in professional wrestling. That's the one that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up and be happy to be a wrestling fan watching that, and the excitement and the surprise there, and that crowd was so hot for it. Welcome back to the Law Live Audio Wrestling. The best of 2012 is what we're talking about. Going to fly through some categories here, but then probably going to have to come back after 1 a.m. to do a little bit more, so we're going to move Dave Meltzer a little bit tonight. So let's get back into it. Best promotion. I could see, well, maybe not a sweep here. Mouth.
Well, see, I picked UFC.
Yeah.
Just because it's constantly entertaining, and they had a tough year with all the injuries. They even had to cancel that one show, but they still managed to maintain high-quality shows, especially in the last couple of months. The shows have been really, really good. I think UFC's done a great job.
I agree. John?
I went with the UFC. I mean, as much as we can talk about how many shows are running and stuff, still a juggernaut of a business here. For pro wrestling, though, I do want to say that the most enjoyable promotion this year for me was New Japan Pro Wrestling. I look forward to all of their pay-per-views. I thought they did some great storytelling this year, some phenomenal matches, but UFC is my best promotion.
That is my pick as well, the UFC. It's the promotion that I watch most consistently, and mainly because you don't get the you don't get sick of the talent as much. You don't see the talent ever so often. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's the one promotion I look forward to almost all of their events. So UFC's a clean sweep there for us. Best television show, Dan Lovranski?
Well, I didn't pick something that I have to watch every week. I picked UFC on Fox. Henderson versus Diaz was mine. It had the Penn versus Rory McDonald match, Krushenk versus Martinez. The rest of the stuff I can't really get. Nothing is on a regular basis. This I thought was a great TV show.
All right, UFC on Fox. One of the UFCs on Fox.
Yeah,
Henderson Diaz.
What a cop-out. My favorite TV show was one that very few people saw, and that was Fight Factory on Nouveau TV. It was kind of looking behind the scenes at the whole goings-on at American Kickboxing Academy in San Jose. Incredible access they got with the likes of Josh Koscheck and Javier Mendez having their big fallout. It was, to me, the prototype of what these style of shows should be and what Ultimate Fighter could really learn from, and I'm hoping that Bellator, we see something similar to this, because they got so many guys over, and had more people seen this, I think the fighters in this gym would have just been celebrities. Like, it was just amazing how they portrayed these guys. It was just like watching a documentary every week.
Best television show.
I've really enjoyed the UFC Primetime, as well as the Road to the Octagon specials on Fox, and mainly because, from a personal perspective, being a videographer, just to study the way these guys shoot these fights and shoot these people as they're doing it, I always find something to pick up and learn from as a videographer. So, and the stories they tell are always fantastic too. So, my pick.
To me, I also picked UFC on Fox, but just in general, whenever they do their Fox special, I'm always interested in what fights they're going to use to propel guys to, a star status, because they have so much exposure on Fox, and hopefully use that to build people to buy a pay-per-view. And yes, the last one was absolutely tremendous, one of the best cards of the year. I'm going to reverse these next two guys, because I got a feeling there's a clean sweep coming up here. So our last category before we take a break, let's just skip to best DVD. Mouth?
Oh, come on. There's no competition. CM Punk, best in the world. Come on.
John?
Yep.
Way?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So CM Punk, best in the world. The keys here is I know, Mouth, you love the fact that Miz was talking about how great he was, in the very next shot, CM Punk is taking shots at Miz.
Yep. Just the fact that we heard stuff that you don't usually hear. They actually criticize the product, and you very rarely hear that.
And Samoa Joe featured prominently as well, was very surprising.
Yep.
For all of you wrestling fans out there that listen to this show, if you have not seen this, you go out and get, if it's on your Christmas list, go get someone to buy it for you.
Yeah.
This is by far,
awesome.
in a way, the best DVD of this year. It's probably one of the best that WWE has ever made, actually. It's absolutely incredible. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've still got best book, best MMA fighter, best MMA fight, best law interview. We're going to take a break and get your updates and stuff in whatever city you're listening in, if you're listening podcast-wise. Then we're going to be right back. But we're going to do that and then come back with those four categories. Going to move Dave Meltzer a little bit. Keep in mind, your feedback for your best of list coming in our second hour, along with that Tight About Trivia still to come as well. You're listening to The Law. It's live audio wrestling on the Team 1410 Vancouver and TSN 1050 Toronto.
I'm no fool.
Friday nights, TSN Radio has your cage side tickets.
Hey there, fight fans. John Pollock here from the MMA Report. Friday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on TSN 1050 Toronto. The fastest 60 minutes in mixed martial arts as I take you through all of the news with behind-the-scenes insiders and some of the top fighters in the sport. It's the MMA Report every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern.
The MMA Report with John Pollock. Friday nights at 11 on TSN 1050 Toronto. The Law on TSN Radio.
Well, ignoring the moves and the holds is damn insulting to the athletes, the wrestlers, not the entertainers, in that ring.
Wrestling lives here.
This is extreme.
Joe Rogan, tonight is not for questions from me. This is your night, brother.
I don't want you to ask me any questions.
I want to ask you a question.
I want to know how you feel being only inches away from greatness.
How does it feel right now? You. How do you feel standing, actually talking, actually holding a microphone, actually interviewing superstar Billy Graham?
I want you to tell everybody how it feels. Are you not mesmerized? You not have chills going up your spine for the first time on Fox for you to be here?
Are chills not going up and down your skinny little spine?
When you're the greatest fighter in the world today, they got a name for you. They don't call you a great fighter. They call you Chael Sonnen. Beat me if you can.
Well, definitely the best on the stick in the world of MMA, and that was Chael Sonnen doing a superstar Billy Graham modified promo there.
Not too modified. It was pretty verbatim.
Yeah.
Valid point. Welcome back to the Law. Best stuff. Normally this time we'd welcome on Dave Meltzer, but we want to finish our categories first. We got 4 more, and then we're going to have Dave on in just a little bit here on the program, so we're getting back to it. Best book. It's a category I do not participate in because I don't read. Mouth.
There was 3 really good ones. I mean, Michael Snowden's book, Shooter, about the history of MMA was fantastic. Booker T's first part of his autobiography, From Prison to Promise, was great. But I give it actually to Heroes and Icons by Greg Oliver and Steve Johnson, just as the historian in me. They did a fantastic job of cataloging about 100 different baby faces. And if you're into the history of the business, it's excellent read.
John.
Yeah, I went with Shooters by Jonathan Snowden. He's written some tremendous books on with Total MMA, the MMA Encyclopedia. He just does so much research and just talking about a time period in pro wrestling that I find so fascinating at the turn of the century where, yes, it was a work, but you had so many different tough guys when it came to promoters putting guys in the ring that could defend themselves and the backlash when you put guys in there that couldn't do this. It's just a phenomenal read from Jonathan Snowden.
Way.
I'm with you, Jay. I can't read.
Yeah, I didn't say can't, but I don't. I don't generally read wrestling books. I definitely didn't read any this year. So there you go, 2 out of 4 of us giving you the best of picks there. Okay, moving along to best mixed martial artist. Will it be a sweep? Mouth.
Well, I'm wondering. Well, I guess it depends. If this category really needs to be divided up like the way we do with pro wrestling. There should be male and a female, I think, here.
Why? Because you're going to say Rousey?
Well, no, I'm going to pick Ben Henderson as the best male fighter, absolutely, because, I mean, he had that 2 wicked fights with Frankie Edgar. The Diaz fight, he kept his title. I thought he did awesome. But if we're going to have a female category, then I pick Ronda Rousey.
Okay, yep.
I didn't go with Benson Henderson because I scored both fights for Frankie Edgar.
Yep.
The first one, not as many did, but the second one I thought was pretty resounding that Frankie Edgar won that fight. So I did go with Ronda Rousey here because of her wins over Miesha Tate and Sarah Kaufman. Had Johnny Hendricks beat John Fitch 3 days later than he did to move it into 2012, that would have been my pick because he would have had 3 huge wins with Koscheck and Kampman in 2012.
Way.
I also went with Benson Henderson, and despite the controversial finish of that, actually both the fights, they were very entertaining matches, both of them, and to have three big fights in one single year, that's more than any of the champions on the roster this year. So I give it to him.
I went with Anderson Silva because I don't think he's human, and I think he can beat anyone.
Even people on steroids.
That's right. So Anderson Silva is just absolutely phenomenal, and not saying that Stephan Bonner was going to be a great challenge, but just the way that he just dodged punches, it was just like he was just toying with them. I've never seen anyone do that before. Best MMA fight. So the one fight, Mouth.
Well, I think it's too bad that we have to do this before Saturday's fight because Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos could actually be one of the best fights of the year. But despite what you guys said, I went with the very first Henderson versus Edgar fight, the fight in Japan. I thought that was a phenomenal fight. That's my fight of the year.
John.
I went to the UFC on Fox 4 card, Joe Lozon submitting Jamie Varner. It was even going into the 3rd round, and then Joe Lozon, after he was taken down, secured a triangle. It was like every facet of mixed martial arts was presented here on such a big showcase as well, and it was like the first Fox card to me that really clicked between all the personality profiles and then this fight, just amazing.
Way.
My pick is also Mouth's pick, Ben Henderson versus Frankie Edgar from UFC 144. Just a very excellent back-and-forth fight, and the outcome being what it was. My favorite part of it was to see Benson Henderson's mother Asian little Korean mother or grocery store just celebrating and crying for her son. Just a fantastic moment.
I think my pick it really resounds in regards to what you guys both said about WrestleMania and just being there and being a part of the crowd and experiencing something, because I know we all went to go see UFC 154, but you guys were in the back for when GSP came out and fought Carlos Condit, and I was up in the press booth overlooking the octagon and was just taken by the environment and the pure excitement of this fight for GSP to come back and look the way that he did. But in that third round, when Carlos Condit hit that big leg kick, just experiencing the fight, seeing the fight, the crowd, and it was the whole experience. So that's my pick. UFC 154, GSP versus Condit in the main there. Now let's get a little bit inside here and talk about this radio program. Our final categories we like to do. Best law interview of the year. Mouth?
I did, personally speaking, I did 3 myself this year, and I did them all very close together because John put them all together, but I was really happy with them all. Rick Martel, Bruno Sammartino, but my favorite, because he was one of my favorite guys, and he was really candid in the interview, Vader. The interview with Vader
right on.
that I did this year, I thought was...
I don't want to talk about that fight with Paul Orndorff, but let me just say...
Yeah, I just thought he was so open and so candid, and he was one of those guys where I was very scared going into the interview. Is he going to kayfabe me? Is he even going to want to talk to me? And it was fantastic.
Good stuff. John?
Oh, I went with Chris Jericho calling in to talk to Dave Meltzer.
That's my pick as well. It was amazing.
Just fantastic to get both of those guys on the line at the same time and talk about how you create new stars in this business right after Hell in a Cell that night. So just a very cool moment to have those two on together.
Yeah, that was really neat to do that live.
My pick as well, and I just listened to that from home. And just a thrill, just even as a wrestling fan, to see all of you interact.
A great quarter hour in law history.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it was really cool because I think Jericho asked to stay on right afterwards.
Yes, that's
and
right.
We just kept him on hold, and then we popped him back on or he called back and we popped him back on to chat with Dave Meltzer, and that's one that did quite well for us in regards to downloads and iTunes ratings. I believe that was probably our highest rated show of the year, wouldn't it be?
It was tons of feedback we got for that one, so that was cool.
It was great. All right, guys. Speaking of one of those two gentlemen, Chris Jericho won't be joining us, but Dave Meltzer will. Going to take a break, come back, and chat with Dave. This is where we're going to cover off the news of the week as well. We're not doing news this week. We're just going to talk to Dave about all the stuff that happened. Hey, Ric Flair came back this week. We really haven't mentioned it on the program, but we're going to talk about it next with Meltzer. What's his status? We'll find out next right here on the Law Live Audio Wrestling, TSN 1050 Toronto, the Team 1410 Vancouver.
It just takes some time, little girl, and a little out the right. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright.
You're listening to The Law.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
On TSN Radio.
It's time! It's time!
Time to play the game.
It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
Wrestling Observer Extra.
With Dave Meltzer. Right here on The Law. Live Audio Wrestling.
Welcome back to it a little bit later on the program today. We're about to chat with Dave Meltzer. After that, we're going to be taking your phone calls, so now is a good time to get them in. Dial up and talk to call Wai Ting over there on the other side of the room, 416-870-1050, 1-855-591-6876. Taking your calls after this segment. But first up, let's head to San Jose and speak with the editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well. We're doing our best of. It's an annual for us, and we're doing it a little bit early this year, Dave, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of the categories. In particular, what would you say is the best match of 2012?
The best match I saw in 2012 was Hiroshi Tanahashi and Minoru Suzuki from wherever that match was from.
It was from the show in, it was August, was it?
No, I think it was
October.
It was the first pay-per-view that they did that we could see.
Yeah, I actually rewatched that match just today.
I think it was at Sumo Hall.
Yeah, that was a fantastic match. I just watched it again today, and the pacing and the crowd reaction by the end of that match, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. The amazing thing about that match is that they went about a half an hour, and there was not one near fall in the entire match.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, it was amazing that they could do a match that good without, all the near falls. Not that necessarily that would take the match down, and there were a lot of other ones. I mean, I want to mention, like, the Davey Richards-Michael Elgin match was pretty darn close. And there's a Tetsuya Naito, Kazuchika Okada match from March, and Brock Lesnar and John Cena was an amazing match for what it was. It was different. And, Hunter and Undertaker was really good, too. And there was a CM Punk match that was really, these all pop into my head.
You just covered all of our picks here on the program. Actually, it's very funny. I think we did 4 different ones, but you hit them all in your little span there. That's amazing. How about Best Wrestler, Dave? Who do you think is the best wrestler in 2012?
Best wrestler?
Yep.
I guess Tanahashi. I mean, if I had to pick a...
Whoa.
Oh, I think we just lost Dave.
We just lost Dave.
Somehow.
So let's call Dave back. That was it's something going on with that phone over there. That phone is apparently set on talent, I'm guessing.
Oh, is that what that happened?
I don't know. I was hearing it ringing. So someone's reset the studio. We're only here once a week, guys. So that's what happened. If you're calling in now, don't, because we're going to cut off Dave if you call in. But we got him back on the line. And sorry about that, Dave. We had a mess up with the phones there.
No problem.
Okay, so you said Tanahashi for Best Wrestler of the Year?
Yeah, I would have to say so, yeah.
And then finally, flipping over to the world of MMA as well, Fighter of the Year. Who would you say you'd give it to this year?
Well, here's the thing. If you include December 30th, then I would go with Johnny Hendricks.
Yes.
He had the knockout of Fitch was on December the 30th.
Right.
And then you have the knockout of Fitch, the knockout of Campman, both in under a minute.
Yep.
And the
Josh Koscheck fight.
Over Josh Koscheck.
Yeah.
If you don't include that, I would say it's either Anderson Silva or Ronda Rousey, one or the other, because Ronda Rousey had 2 first-round arm bars in championship matches, and Anderson destroyed Chael Sonnen, and not that Stephan Bonner was a great pick, but the amazing way he decapitated Stephan Bonner, to me, it was just so impressive. I mean, the quality of the opposition. I mean, not that Chael's was a legitimate number 1 contender, but that wouldn't put him at the top, but just the way he won his 2 fights, I would say. So those would be my 3 picks right there.
He walks out of this year kind of looking superhuman, basically, after those 2 performances. Okay, we haven't touched much on what happened this week, but it was a huge week in the world of professional wrestling, in particular WWE, with the return of Ric Flair. What is his, he was there, but apparently has not signed a contract. So what is the status of Ric Flair with the company?
I mean, the official status is that he was in for one night for a special occasion to come out and, that's it. Unofficially, obviously if you watch SmackDown the next night where CM Punk, let's face it, CM Punk has a big TV match on January 7th against Ryback, and he's got a much bigger match against The Rock at the Royal Rumble. And he spent 70% of his interview talking about Ric Flair, so guaranteed, Ric Flair's going to be back doing something with CM Punk. I can't imagine it being a match, but I think that they're going to maybe do something over that trophy.
Are they still waiting for the TNA lawsuit to finally be ironed out, or do they not care at this point?
Well, they care, because if they didn't care, he'd have been signed already. But they don't care as much as they did 5 weeks ago. And if you ask me what the difference is, I really don't know. But I mean, they were so whatever the word is about that lawsuit. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, to the point that Jerry Briscoe wasn't allowed to see his son, because his son's under contract at TNA, and they didn't want anyone making ideas that like he was tampering, even though they got rid of Wes. But I mean, that's how much. I mean, I could tell you other things. I mean, it would boggle your mind about how much not contact with people. I'm not even saying people that are in TNA, but people who were formerly in TNA, but were in TNA at the time the lawsuit was filed, but not in TNA anymore. It would boggle your mind. But whatever it was, a month ago, Vince, just said, "Hey, we're going to bring in Ric Flair."
Wow.
I think that their idea is if it's for one day and we didn't sign him, it's just that he was a guest legend, You know what I mean? So maybe that's their mentality, but they're going to do more with him. I mean, I think it's pretty clear if you watch TV.
Yeah, I mean, they gave him a huge segment on Raw, and like you said, Punk's referencing him in a promo obviously means there's more to come. Somebody else that I don't know if we're going to see or not, but they definitely want to try to get him there, is there was a lot of talk this week about Triple H meeting with Bruno about doing the Hall of Fame this year, since, you know, get him ready maybe for Madison Square Garden or something. But have you heard anything more about how that whole thing has worked out and how that meeting went?
It's still, I guess the best way to say it is the process is still ongoing. It's not dead, and there's no deal, and it's not dead either. So, I mean, whatever's going to happen will probably not happen for at least a few weeks. I'm guessing that they, usually like when it's like in January when they when they first put tickets on sale and they make that big announcement, I'm sure that the goal is to get Bruno by the week of that big announcement so they can go on Raw and say, you know, that. But if not, and if it doesn't happen by then, I'm thinking it may not happen.
Yeah, deep down,
it's going to come down to the wire, and it's going to end up. The whole deal is it's going to be, will they? It's a business deal. If they make a good, I mean, Triple H has been really, really nice to Bruno and all that, but you've still got Vince McMahon, and that's the weird dynamic it's just a weird dynamic between Vince and Bruno, and it's been that way for decades.
Yeah. I'd be very surprised, even at this stage in the game, if Bruno agrees to do it.
I wouldn't be surprised either way. I mean, it's really up to Vince. Really, I mean, if Vince wants him bad enough, Vince can make it happen. I mean, it's not, I mean, it'd be a business deal. That's what it would be. I don't think that, I mean, Bruno's point on that Hall of Fame, I think, is clear. And in Bruno's mind, I think that the Amsterdam Hall of Fame that he was inducted to, to him is a real physical Hall of Fame, and he's been inducted to real sports halls of fame, and this doesn't, it's not the same thing, obviously, and it's not that, but if they want to, if they want Bruno back in the fold, and they want it bad enough, I mean, and Triple H is going to be running the company someday, and he's got no animosity towards Triple H, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it's going to go down, but it's still in talk.
It's definitely a never say never, that's for sure. Also, Dave, this week we had the passing of Rip Hawk. I just thought maybe we could get you to talk a little bit about him, especially because, I mean, for me, he's someone I associated with Flair because he was actually Flair's tag partner there in Mid-Atlantic back when Flair's career was just getting started and was Flair's first actual championship. But can you talk a little bit about Rip Hawk for us?
Yeah, I mean, Rip Hawk, he was like a short guy by the standards. I mean, probably 5'8", 5'9", good talker. Really, I think came into his own in the late 50s when he got to St. Louis and Wrestling at the Chase first got on TV. And I mean, he wasn't like a big main eventer, but he was like a semi-main eventer who would be in main events and tags and occasionally singles here and there. But he was like the good, him and Kiniski were like the two big heels, really, in the territory, and so that's where. And then he went to the Carolinas, and from 1960 to 1975, he was always a main eventer. Rip Hawk and Swing Hansen were like the big tag team there. They wrestled the Scott brothers and Johnny Weaver and George Becker and a million other teams for 15 years there until George Scott came in, and then Rip Hawk pretty much went to Texas, and he retired in Texas, lived on a ranch, and for the last God knows how many years, coached wrestling in Hereford, Texas. And here's the funny one about Rip Hawk and the wrestling is, Rip Hawk was never like a great amateur wrestler or anything like that. And Rip Hawk wanted to coach wrestling, and I mean he never really knew wrestling, so he studied when he was we're talking about a guy who was in his 50s. And he learned amateur wrestling in his 50s, so he could coach, and he was a very successful, he coached little kids, and when they got older, it ended up, he coached so many of them that it got into the high school there, and, there's guys that he coached that were All-American wrestlers later in college. So, I mean, it's, that's later in his life. So he had very successful later in life, unlike a lot of wrestlers that we hear the stories of. I mean, he did well. I think he invented some machine to like pop popcorn while still on the cob. Things like that.
Wow. I didn't know about that. That's crazy.
All right.
I'll give you another one that you probably don't know. You know that NWA insignia that we all saw when we were kids?
Yeah.
He designed that.
Wow, really?
Wow, very bizarre. We're definitely stretching out from wrestling. Okay, Dave, quickly just want to check in with you. We got to wrap this week, but what's coming up in the Observer?
Well, doing the year in review. So I'm just actually going through all the business notes and everything like that, and I'm up to WrestleMania. And the one thing that I've noticed is, compared to other years, the business of professional wrestling really was not very good this year. I mean, if you really look back on, everything. WrestleMania was big, but if you look at the year as a whole, as far as popularity,
definitely down.
Ratings not good. Attendance, not horrible. There have been worse years, but certainly not a good year by any means compared to other years.
Well, it definitely feels that way watching on TV every week as well. But a little bit of an upswing towards the end of the year, so we hope it continues. And we'll speak with you next week where we'll talk about the fact that the year was bad because it's our worst stuff show next week. Dave?
Oh, okay.
All right, we'll talk to you then. Thank you very much. That is Dave.
Have a great week.
You too. That is Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Find him at WrestlingObserver.com, podcasts, and a whole bunch of news there as well. Sign up. It's a good site. When we come back, we're going to take your phone calls. Now's the time to call in because we won't cut off Dave Meltzer. 416-870-1050, 1-855-591-6876. Some phone calls, and then following that, Title Belt Trivia is still to come as well. The Law, live audio wrestling on TSN 1050 and the Team 1410.
You're listening to The Law
It's just a cold, hard fact.
on TSN Radio.
The World Tag Team Champions, Kazarian.
Whoa. The what? Try it again.
The Tag Team Champions.
Maybe hold for edit. You want to try that again?
Once again,
what do you mean?
know
You're
how
a
to do
PRO
this.
professional,
God, you made me
JD.
spit
Come
my
on,
drink.
you know.
World Tag Team Champions
Of
the world.
That's redundant.
It's not redundant.
redundant.
We're 2 planets worth of great. We've established this time and time again.
What is that?
It's an Appletini.
Oh, come on. You've never had an Appletini.
Come on, this is
I've never had an
delightful.
Appletini. I think they're disgusting.
This
my pal
is a
here
CD
enjoys
teeny.
them.
You want a sip of this?
Maybe try
Get
it.
your own. No.
Let me just have a little sip. Whoa, man. I've seen him. I've seen him.
Do you think you and I are ever going to share a glass, Jerome? That's just ridiculous.
Open Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style.
Maybe with only those two guys, this song is still acceptable. I can't stand this song.
Yeah, but this fits them, I think, better than their regular theme.
Yes, it does.
Well, they came out and did the dance the one time, right?
Couple
Done it
times.
a few times now.
Yep, a couple times. Welcome back to the Law. It's Live Audio Wrestling. That was the start of the Appletini right there. I maintain that he's a Scrubs fan. I wish we had asked him. He's a Scrubs fan because JD always ordered Appletinis in the show Scrubs, and it was like a gimmick that ran through like the entire 8 seasons of the show.
Are we going to get an Impact musical?
Ooh, maybe. So
why not?
It all comes down to poo. That was a song. It all comes down to poo on Scrubs.
Oh, well, that's usually what I think of when I watch.
Exactly. That would fit in with TNA.
To a degree, yes, indeed. They were kind of half-half this year. Talking about the best of 2012 here on the Law Live Audio Wrestling. And now your time to chime in. Okay, let me put some parameters on this. Don't just call in and read your list top to bottom. Present us with maybe something we haven't thought of for best ofs. I would enjoy that much more than
We've got the message board, so go post your list there. We're going to keep that thread up all week long. So if you want to post your threads and share your picks, but obviously time is at a premium.
Yeah. Where should we go to?
Let's go to line 4. Ryan is calling from Northern Ireland.
Oh, this is amazing. Hey, Ryan.
Hello, Jason. Hello, Dan. Hello, John. How's it going?
Hello. Okay, best of 2012. What would you like to chat about, Ryan?
Well, basically, I've only got 2 things I would like to comment on. That's the best and the worst of 2012.
We'll save it to the best tonight and call back next week for the worst.
Yeah.
Well, I was wanting to talk about aces and eights, but...
Yeah, that's definitely next week. Yes.
Talk about Father Ted this week.
Yeah.
Well, the best for me has got to be the crowd reaction from Brock Lesnar's return.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was still possible in 2012 to get that kind of heat, that crowd reaction, you know. And I think for me that was the highlight of the year. Just Brock Lesnar coming back, the roof being blown off the building, you know, Attitude Era type crowd. You know, I just didn't think it was possible for that to still happen in 2012.
It's just too bad that the follow-up never equaled the comeback.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, the difference with that, thank you very much for the call, Ryan, is the fact that that was also the night after WrestleMania. So you're dealing with a very different style of crowd there, a smart crowd. They were already chanting for Lesnar. Because you consider for WrestleMania, you have people traveling from all over the world.
And it's all the diehards, right, that are going to be there, right? So they know what's going on.
And in hindsight, I'm glad they did it the night after as opposed to WrestleMania. I know we all wanted it at WrestleMania, but to me, it's like that's the end of one chapter, and this was the beginning of what is our next big story with Brock.
Yeah, unfortunately, it lasted 2 chapters, and they were very average.
I don't think Brock is... I mean, I still think they got... not what they could have, but I don't look at Lesnar as a failure.
No, not a failure, but just could have been done better.
Yeah,
you know, could have been built a lot better.
Yeah.
And now we're going to get him and Triple H at WrestleMania. That doesn't interest me at all.
No.
Doesn't.
No.
Wait.
We got line 1, James from Chicago.
Hi there, James. Welcome to the program.
Hi, guys. I agree with your guys' assessment about the year. It's been very tough, but I felt that I went to 2 of the best shows this year, which was WrestleMania 28 and Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
And I thought that those had 2 great matches this year with The Undertaker and Triple H, and I thought that was a great something you don't see much in wrestling, and that's a culmination of a storyline that goes for years, and that was like a 4-year storyline. And I thought that was just a great moment to see those 3 legends standing at the top of the ramp together. And I think this was a great year for milestones as far as TNA and WWE with the Raw 1000, and then TNA celebrating 10 years. So I just thought that was great for them, because who would have thought TNA would be around for so long when they first started?
That's true.
It's true. Unfortunate that it didn't seem as big as it should have, I guess. You know, Raw 1000 was incredible,
It was.
and they did a great job with it. TNA Year 10, meh.
Hey, Christian was there.
Yeah, awkwardly.
Yeah, I did not want to be there, yes.
So awkwardly. 416-870-1050 if you want to get your calls on in. Way back to it.
Let's go to line 2. John is in Long Island.
Hi, John. Welcome to the show.
Hi. My favorite pay-per-view of the year was a pay-per-view I attended last week, the TLC pay-per-view.
Yes.
And as for my favorite match of the year, you guys listed a bunch of great ones, but one you didn't mention was the Bobby Roode versus Austin Aries match at Destination X.
That was what, John, you had mentioned that, right?
That was my big angle of the year, with Aries winning the title. But yeah, I think,
It was a good match.
especially the finish, I think no one was expecting a title change going into that show.
And also, I liked the Frankie Edgar, Benson Henderson, the second match.
The second one. Did you think Frankie
Really?
won, or did you think Benson won?
I think it could have gone either way, to be honest.
Yeah, I had that one scored for Frankie as well.
They were close fights,
Yeah,
both
they
of them.
were.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the phone call. Continuing on here, going through your phone calls. Wai Ting.
Steve from Bradford.
Steve from Bradford now on the line. Hi there, Steve.
Hey guys, I got 5 points for you. For my most improved, I went with Michael Elgin. Like, he went from a background player last year with the House of the Truth being the muscle to being one of the front guys in Ring of Honor right now.
Yep.
For my best gimmick, I enjoyed the therapy sessions with Daniel Bryan and Kane, and how that tag team really came together with that.
That petered off. I agree with you to a degree, but I found that it petered off and got kind of long in the tooth.
Went on too long?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, as soon as they got away from the therapy kind of thing, they got rid of Harold, and they got rid of everyone else part of that. I think it helped them. So, I don't know. With my match of the year, it was CM Punk Daniel Bryan at Over the Limit. Like, it was a great finish with the roll-up pin, and it continued the feud for a few more months, even though it had the AJ involvement.
Which is unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a great match still alone. For pay-per-view, it was the Hostage Crisis pay-per-view that happened here in Toronto with Kevin Steen winning the title and doing his run that he's got right now. And for the best law interview, It was John talking to Samoa Joe earlier this year, and Joe.
When he hung up on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious. When I
yeah.
asked him about the kidnapping a few years ago. Yeah, that was very well played on Joe's part.
Have yourself a good night, guys.
Thank you very much, Steve. Much appreciated. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with more of your phone calls, but we're going to do Title Bout Trivia first. So if you want to get in on it, now's your time to call.
For the best video game of 2013.
Yes.
So we're giving
12.
what away?
WWE 13.
Yeah.
WWE 13 for PlayStation, right?
PlayStation 3.
There you go. 1-855-591-6876. 416-870-1050. Braden's playing the hit parade tonight for all of us here on the show. We're back with Title Bout Trivia next. Call in if you'd like a copy of WWE 13.
Melrose Place.
Cheers.
Dallas.
MASH.
Dallas.
The Surf.
What do all these shows have in common, Way?
They're on TV.
They all pale in comparison to Raw, which is a weekly 3-hour show, meaning we have even more to talk about every Monday night on Review of Raw at liveaudiowrestling.com.
That's great.
Tune in, folks, every Monday night, also on iTunes.
And now, it's time to begin our first bout of the evening.
It is the greatest sports and entertainment spectacular of all time.
This bout is one heck of a ring-ding-dong dandy.
Every time you think you got all the answers, I change the questions.
Go one-on-one and get it done.
How's that, baby?
This is Live Audio Wrestling's Title Bout Trivia.
Woo, woo, woo. You know it.
Alrighty, Title Bout Trivia time. Giving away WWE 13, the video game. And have you played this? You guys reviewed this, right?
They reviewed it.
Yeah, you reviewed it.
They did a little cool segment on it.
So it's getting good reviews right across the board, is it not?
I've been obsessed with it.
Have you?
I played it 12 hours straight.
Yeah, Way went nuts. He took it home.
Really?
Oh, my God. Wow.
It's like a drug, so.
Wow.
Good luck to whoever wins.
All right, well, who's on the line then, Way?
On line one, we have from Ottawa, Rob.
All right, and Rob's playing against?
Philly Dave.
And
Line
that-
two.
Oh,
Is there an actual radio personality named Philly Dave?
There was a radio
He used to
personality.
be our
in Philly,
operator.
Dave. Yeah.
Is it him?
No, I don't think so. I
No,
hope
okay.
so.
Actually, Dave from Philadelphia, correct?
Yes,
All right, and Rob, you're there?
you got it.
All right, let's do this, guys. You know how the game is played. We're going to run through 10 questions, give 5 to each of you. Whoever does better wins this video game. Rob, first one is for you. In the WWE, who was the world champion on January 1st, 2012?
Daniel Bryan.
Correct.
Let the celebration begin, guys.
Dave, same kind of question for you. Who was the TNA champion on January 1st, 2012?
Jeff Hardy.
Incorrect. I'm sorry. Bobby Roode was the champion at that time. Rob, over to you. Who ended up as the points leader for the Bound for Glory tournament in 2012?
Jeff Hardy.
Incorrect. I'm sorry.
That's not it. That's not it.
The points leader was James Storm, but Jeff Hardy ended up winning the tournament. Dave, over to you now. You can catch him here. Who won the 2012 Royal Rumble?
Sheamus.
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
And it goes even into the third round. Ooh. Question 5 now. What was the first match on the WrestleMania pay-per-view this year, Rob?
Sheamus and Daniel Bryan.
Correct.
Have mercy.
Dave, over to you. This year, Chris Jericho returned to the WWE and then left again. Who was his final match against?
Ziggler.
Correct.
Woo, woo, woo. You know it.
All right, over to Rob. Who did Heath Slater face at Raw 1000?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Lita is the correct answer. It was disappointing, actually. But Dave, looking at that actual angle, previous to Lita, name 3 legends that returned to confront Heath Slater.
Vader, Sid, DDP.
That is correct. Very good, Dave. You're in the lead. Rob, you need to get this one to tie it. There have been 5 people that have held the WWE Intercontinental title this year. Name 3 of them.
Kofi Kingston.
1.
The Miz.
2.
Cody Rhodes.
3. Dave, it all comes down to this. If you get it, you win. If you don't, we're tied and we have a problem. Didn't think this far ahead. Dave, who was the very first NXT champion?
I don't know.
No. We have a tie. I did not come up with another question.
We'll break the game in half.
We'll break it in half?
So one guy gets WWE 6 and the other guy gets WWE 7.
Yeah. Wait, do you have a question that you can give these two individuals?
All right.
The tiebreaker.
Okay. Is this too easy? How many days is CM Punk's reign today?
Oh, very good. As of right now.
As of right now.
Very
Don't
good
look.
question.
Don't look. Rob, what is it?
398.
Dave.
I guess.
Dave.
400.
What?
400.
Dave guessed 400, 398 from Rob. What is it?
400.
Yeah.
400. Dave, you got it.
Yeah.
That was a great question. Wait, congratulations, Dave. Rob, you played a great game, but Dave ended up pulling it out at the end. All right, we got a few minutes left here. If you do want to call in, guys, we got a couple calls on the line. Before we do that, though, I want to do one thing here in the program. We actually do a little gift exchange on the law, and I managed to send some of my gifts to the wrong place, my old work. But one of them made it here, and this is rare for us, but we're going to actually do this gift on the air.
What?
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to do this gift on the air. Pass that to Mouth. So I wanted to give you this on the air, Dan Lovranski.
All right.
Because I thought that our wrestling fans would enjoy this. And just, it's something that I know that you've been looking for a while.
Very
cylindrical.
Yeah.
Is it a cell phone?
Yeah. Oh, no. That would be the best gift ever for Mouth.
Yeah, it would be.
But instead, it's wrestling themed.
Oh, no, you didn't. You are an idiot.
Kelly is here in studio.
You are an idiot.
Look, it's signed, man.
It's signed. It's the Barbie Blank calendar for 2013.
Uneffing believable.
So now Mouth can track CM Punk's title reign well into the new year as we go into day number 400 plus.
Now,
every single month, Mouth. Oh, look at that. She is not wearing a shirt on that month.
No, so it's autographed.
Unbelievable.
It's just for you, sir.
Oh.
You know, we have to commemorate the fact that you don't get to see her every week now. But you now get to see her every day.
Oh, my.
Oh, well, maybe the cat's litter box or something. I don't know. Wow, that's awesome.
Signed, no
What
less.
a clown.
This is on par with when I ordered Hooker by Luthez and it came signed.
Yes.
Here,
Yeah,
Jay
well,
ordered
that's
this and it came
Also
signed.
similar to that name of the book.
That's not nice.
No,
You're
it's
making
not.
assumptions now.
I
Did
am,
you know
I
it
am.
was going to be signed?
I didn't actually. I guess I ordered the signed copy, though.
Wow.
That's pretty. If I had known, I would have had it personalized.
Oh, man. That would have been too much.
Listen,
Braden didn't have a hold of this beforehand, did he?
No, the pages would be sticking together.
August and July might just be one long
Maybe
month.
we'll do some re-gifting here.
That's right. Braden might
Braden's
end up
got
with
it. Braden's got it
He's already
already.
got one. It's like, Jay, you're doing that? Can you get me one too? Save on postage? All right, we got a few minutes here.
Oh, that's pretty
So let's wait. We have a call, right? Let's go to it.
On line 5, Ray is in Alberta, wants to chat UFC.
Hi, Ray. How's it going?
Hey guys,
A plagued year for UFC.
In terms of pay-per-view of the year, why not UFC 144? I thought that was a good pay-per-view, top to bottom.
From Japan?
It was a very good show. I agree. But there was a lot of good shows this year when it comes to UFC. That's for sure.
I'm looking up what UFC 144 was at this point.
That was the Japanese one with Henderson.
That had
versus
that big
Edgar.
comeback with Tim Boetsch, Yukin Okami.
There was a lot of good fights on that one.
Yeah, and you had the Quentin Jackson Ryan Bader thing there. That was pretty. Well, that was.
That was not a good
That
fight.
was not a good fight, though. That's the thing, right? Like, it wasn't. So I didn't see that one as a strong
In the
one.
middle of the fight, that was like a big comeback moment for Rampage.
No, I disagree.
Yeah, I think that kind of put Rampage in the grave there. And I think that the ideal for the Fox card coming up in January is that Teixeira is fighting Rampage, and they're going to want Teixeira to go over there. Hopefully that does happen because it's Rampage's last fight with the promotion.
That's right, yeah.
And if you get that star power transferred by Teixeira getting that win, I think that would be excellent.
Yeah, I think he's just going to get smashed. Anyways, thank you for the call, guys.
Hey, thanks for calling in. All right, we got a couple minutes left here, but next week here on this program, what we will be doing is our worst of 2012.
I'm setting aside an entire 24-hour period to go through everything this week.
Oh, I've already picked them.
Oh, you've made your picks?
I'm ready. I made my picks.
I couldn't possibly digest it all.
I'm kind of like halfway there. I keep finding the one name coming up over and over and over again.
She doesn't work for the promotion anymore.
Doesn't matter. Her name keeps coming up over and over and over again.
Wai, you'll be joining us next week once again?
Yes, I will. You'll have me.
Amazing. Absolutely, we will. Along with that, it would be we're going to do the UFC post show here on TSN Radio as well, and that's coming up
Saturday.
Yeah, next Saturday. So we'll be on the air for that as well. And that is, of course, the match that you're looking forward to. Mouth, who are you taking in that, Dos Santos or Velasquez?
Oh, man. It's such a tough Jeez, because Kane looked so good in his last one.
I think it's really tough because both guys were injured going into that first fight that I don't think you got an accurate representation of Velasquez going into that. I mean, had that not been such a big card for the promotion, I think Cain Velasquez would have pulled out of that fight. So I don't really hold that fight against him. And then you look at what he did against Antonio Silva.
Yeah.
At my pay-per-view of the year, UFC 146, I mean, he just dominated Antonio Silva. So I am leaning towards Velasquez in this one.
I think it's going to be a bigger challenge for Junior this time as well. I agree with you. I don't know if I'm ready to jump on the Velasquez bandwagon yet, but I do agree with you. It's going to be a much tougher challenge for him, this fight.
On the undercard of this fight, we have Joe Lozon, Jim Miller as well, Tim Boach, Costa Philippou, Yushin Okami, Alan Belcher, Chris Lieben, Derek Brunson. And then also moved over to this is that lightweight fight between Melvin Gillard and Jamie Varner.
Yeah.
I'm surprised this wasn't bumped up to the main card, though.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising. This undercard looks really solid. You've got Brad Pickett and Eddie Wineland. That is a phenomenal fight. On top of that, Max Holloway, Leonard Garcia. That should be a really fun fight. Todd Duffy's returning on this card. I think this is going to be a really solid show. We might have to do some updates next week if this one really delivers.
So that's going to be what we're doing here. We'll be on the air right after the card stops, probably around 1 a.m. or so on TSN Radio. Catch us live with myself and John. And then we're back here next Sunday, and we're going to be doing, of course, the Law Worst of Special. Always a very fun one. Wai Ting will be joining us again. So thanks, guys, all of you for coming in. Braden, great job tonight. And there you go. That's it for us here at the Law. We're back next week, so don't you dare miss it.
Brother!